Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever just looked at your cat while they're meowing at you and thought, wait, are you actually trying to tell me something right now, or are you just making noise? Well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving into this absolutely fascinating study that suggests our feline friends might actually be using hidden vocal codes to, well, manipulate us. We're going to break down the acoustic science together to see how cats use pitch patterns to get exactly what they want. Let's get right into it. If you spend any time online, you've definitely seen those viral cat videos. Like that famous clip of the cat walking into a Mexican restaurant sounding exactly like he's ordering tacos in English. And if you really listen to it, it's the specific rising pitch at the end of the meow that makes it sound so incredibly human. Or what about that legendary Reddit video? The one where two cats are just sitting there, seemingly having a full-on, nuanced conversation, even finishing each other's sentences with different tones. It's a completely relatable mystery that leaves us wondering, what on earth are they actually saying? Is it a real language that we just haven't cracked yet? All right, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The feline language mystery. 2. A dictionary of meows. 3. The science of pitch. 4. Food versus vet meows. 5. Are you a cat whisperer? And 6. Cross-species communication. So, starting us off with section 1, the feline language mystery. Okay, before we get into the heavy acoustics, we actually need to bust a major myth about who exactly cats are talking to. Most of us just assume cats meow at everything, right? But the truth is, adult cats almost never meow at each other. Before they were domesticated, they communicated mainly through smell. Pheromones, scratching trees, marking territory, that kind of thing. But over the last 10,000 years of living with us, they hit a wall. They figured out pretty quickly that humans have a terrible sense of smell compared to other animals. We totally ignore their scent marks. But sound? We respond to sound. So meowing evolved as a learned behavior specifically for us. Just think about that evolutionary leap for a second. An entire species basically invented a brand new vocal strategy just to hack the attention span of another species. They literally developed a voice for us. Moving right along to section 2, a dictionary of meows. Because they're vocalizing specifically to interact with humans, we can actually categorize these sounds into a sort of functional feline dictionary. The vocalizations map directly to specific needs. Take the short meow, for instance. It's basically just a quick, hey, when you walk through the door. Now compare that to a long meow. That's essentially the cat version of a whiny teenager. They are demanding something, usually dinner, and they want it right now. Then you have the low-pitched meow. This one's a warning. Notice how a low pitch just instantly triggers this primal caution in your brain? It means your cat is unhappy, and you should probably back off. And finally, there's the mew. It's super high-pitched, really urgent, and usually used by kittens calling for mom, or by adult cats in genuine distress. But hey, it's not all meows. There's also chirping, which is this really cool, unique murmur they make with a mostly closed mouth. It sounds almost like a little peep, 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 kind of like a songbird. Now, they'll use this for excited greetings, sure, but it's most famously triggered by their hunting instincts. If you've ever seen your cat staring intensely out the window at a bird or a bug, you've probably heard this chattering sound. It's almost as if their intense, laser-like focus makes them involuntarily mimic their prey. All right, let's get into section 3, the science of pitch. Now, this is where the story gets really good, because we're stepping away from basic behavior and zooming straight into the hard acoustic science. We're looking at a groundbreaking study from researchers at Lund University in Sweden. They wanted to scientifically define a meow. On paper, it sounds super dense. They call it a quasi-periodic sound with varying fundamental frequency contours, or F0 contours. But let's simplify that. The F0 contour is literally just the musical melody of the meow. Think about how we speak. If you ask a question, your pitch naturally goes up at the end, right? If you make a firm statement, your pitch goes down. The researchers wanted to know, are cats using these exact same musical melodies to manipulate what we hear? To answer that, just look at the acoustic footprint on the top here. Notice how the visual energy of a cat asking for food just dances across the graph? It peaks, it lifts, it's very active. Now contrast that with the footprint on the bottom. This is a cat sitting in a carrier waiting at the vet. The energy is heavier, it's flatter, it's entirely different. The researchers analyzed these exact visual waveforms to measure the specific pitch differences between a happy, hungry cat and a highly stressed out cat, which perfectly sets up section 4, food versus vet meows. By analyzing those F0 contours, the researchers found a crystal clear, consistent difference. A food meow generally has a rising pitch contour. The pitch literally sweeps upward at the end, hitting a much higher frequency range. But a vet meow has a falling pitch contour. The pitch drops off, sitting in a much lower overall frequency. So why does this matter? Because it perfectly mirrors human psychology. When we talk to babies, or when we're really excited, our pitch naturally rising. When we're sad or in pain, our pitch drops. Cats are quite literally exploiting our pre-existing biological wiring. They raise their pitch to sound happy because they know our brains are hardwired to respond to it, and they drop it to communicate fear or sadness. That brings us to section 5. Are you a cat whisperer? Okay, so cats are undeniably tweaking their pitch, but are we actually picking up on this manipulation? The Lund University study tested 30 humans, playing them recordings of both food meows and vet meows to see if they could decode those rising and falling patterns. The results? Incredible. Experienced cat owners identified the context correctly 70% of the time, which is way better than random chance. Even inexperienced listeners got it right 54% of the time, bringing the overall average up to 65%. This is huge because that 70% accuracy proves it's not a lucky guess. We are actively learning to understand feline intonation over time. By just living with them, we're basically acquiring a second language. Let's take a closer look at how our brains decode this in real time. Notice how the data dots cluster along the bottom axis of the scatter plot. That axis tracks the F0 standard deviation. To put it simply, standard deviation just measures how jumpy or variable the pitch is. So a low standard deviation means the pitch is flat and monotone. Look at the chart. When humans hear that flatter monotone pitch, they overwhelmingly flag it as a stressful, vet-related sound. Without even realizing it, we're using that lack of pitch variability as a major clue to recognize a distress signal. And finally, section 6, cross-species communication. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's that cats aren't just making arbitrary noise into the void because they happen to be hungry or scared. No, they're actively engineering their pitch and intonation to flawlessly elicit the exact response they want from us. They're intentionally matching human caregiving frequencies. They know that a rising high-pitched meow sounds like a human baby, which basically forces us to open that can of food a little faster. And a flat, low-pitched moan, that signals genuine distress. It is a highly sophisticated, cross-species communication strategy designed specifically to trigger our deepest human instincts. We love to pride ourselves on domesticating the cat over the last 10,000 years, right? We bring them inside, we feed them, we totally think we're the ones in charge. But considering how masterfully they've engineered these complex pitch patterns to hack our brains and get exactly what they want out of us, have we trained our cats to speak? Or have they actually trained us to listen? Definitely something to chew on the next time your cat demands breakfast. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep your ears open.